1920s, people came up with this idea. And you can actually explain data.
Why is this being
and explain why the light emitted by atoms has a certain
different thing.
Even better, there's an equation. It's important that I show you the equation because it's a quiz.
So when did they change this around? I guess they changed things around. It's freaking me out. So I guess I have to click on. This is horrible. I have to click on this. And then I have to click on this.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is on.
Tonight's episode, Murder by the Numbers.
All right, so we are checking out the ATF comments. We do this live, and we've been doing it since, like this format, since December of last year when they first came at us with the pistol braces the Friday before Christmas. Friday of the week before Christmas, they ATF put out a comment period demanding that the public have 90 days to respond to some potential infringements. All right, so we're going live. I guess I don't need this open. This is the video details of last show, but you know what? I don't need that anymore. So now I can go straight to this show. Open it up. We're screen here, so everybody's watching what we're doing. Whoever this person is, I'm not familiar with them. Welcome to the show. And then somebody else joins us today. Let's see, we're going to go down to the description of this video, and we're going to right-click open. There we go. New window here. Both the definition of the receiver and the criteria for stabilizing brace as two different windows, and then we're going to go back to the video that we're watching right now. We're going to edit the video as we're watching it, and one of the things we've been doing in the description of these videos is keeping kind of a tally of the rate of the comments coming in. So we're going to now have the number of comments that are now on the website as being received. Oh, I've got pretty bad internet here, so I'm not sure if it recorded or not, or if it's just in the live, but thanks for the feedback. It'll be bad audio, I guess, when it ranges out there. Does a show on Sunday nights. So let's see, I'm grabbing the number of comments, and it is 106,636 for the redefinition of firearms. That is, oh man, that is up from, well, it's up 3,000, right? 3,000, almost 3,000. It's up from 103. So what do I got to do? I got to go to here. Yeah, I'll just do it like this. I'll paste it here. I'll cut it. Oh, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this with an X. And then paste. I don't have to do nothing. And then I just delete this. That's like 3 clicks. Anyway, so it went from 103.9, so 103,900 last time we checked, which was Tuesday. And then it's up to 106,000. So that's another 3,000 comments that have come in. That's not 2,000 a day like the rate was before, but it's still significant since we pretty much know what those are going to be, I think, right? So now we'll go to the number that are approved. Oh, that's super interesting. Well, it's about the same. So we're going to take 100 and what are we going to do? We're going to take this number, cut it, take this number and paste it on top of there, and then write the new number in here, which is 104.87. So it went. What did I do wrong here? It went from 101,000 of the 103 were approved last Tuesday, and now it's up to 100 and basically 105,000 out of 107,000. So out of 100 and something thousand, only 2,000 are not approved, according to Crump. Yeah, thanks for the feedback. It's telling me my connection's bad. I don't know why it's not raining or anything here. It's probably censorship. We can blame it on YouTube. We can also blame it on this lady. She's mean to me. So it's an unusually high number of comments that are approved. Crump seems to think that is still going to come down, that they're going to further manicure this number. So we should see a lower approved number later. We'll see if that happens. It is possible that they're not dealing with this situation because they are sending us 2 comment periods concurrently, and they've never dealt with that before either. They're throwing it on us. We've never dealt with it. Well, they've never dealt with it either. So do they have double the amount of agents or temporary workers, or did they task people from their other responsibilities to work on this, or are the people just having to work overtime? Is somebody getting massive overtime checks for this? We don't know. All right, so now we're going to head over to the factoring criteria for the firearms with attached stabilizing braces. And we're going to take a look at the difference in number of comments received. So before, are you kidding me? This is actually happening. So before, let me go with all this first, and then we'll be disgusted together. So we're getting clobbered on the redefinition of firearms. That's obvious. We're about to dig into that even more. But what's more pathetic is that we've just ignored braces. Braces didn't even move from last week. All that's happened from last week is they've approved more, or from earlier this week, I guess I keep saying this week. 124. I'm going to put the right number in. 350. So here's how Liberty dies. Whatever she says in Star Wars, say that right now. So it went from 124,363 on Tuesday, and they've received 124,766. So they've received 400 comments in 2 days. Might as well just give them braces. We don't want braces. You can just have them. Like Bloomberg here, we'll just give them to you for free. And then, why do I keep writing this freaking number on? It is 124. I even said it. All right, so it went from 123. Almost 124 of the 124 were approved. We are now at, of the 124,700 that are sent in, 350 of them are approved. So there's only 400 comments that they didn't approve. This is not consistent with past comment periods, and it's this big scam. It's a ripoff. We're being ripped off right now. So now we have the updated description of this video. Description of this video will give you some comparison as to earlier this week. So now we're going to go look at those comments. I don't need this open anymore. We're going to go to this one because we know what it's going to be. A massive Everytown slam fest. I don't know what to call it. So we're going to flip over to the browse tab. Here's what we do next. We open it up like this, then we go to filter it so that we see the newest comments first, and then we stretch because it's going to be horrible. No, don't even worry about this. Warsaw Patriot is saying, have you heard that Mexico is trying to sue us for all their violence with firearms? No. So I understand, he says further, everything is upside down these days? No, it's not. What's happening is Everytown, which is a Bloomberg paid organization, and it's an accumulation of the mayors for violence and the moms demand violence and all the other dumbass organizations that are focused on property instead of the actual issues. The actual issues being poverty, being lack of jobs and incentive to have equity in your life, and then of course mental health barriers or barriers to mental health. Few options for the number one death from firearms is suicide. So instead of working on any of the actual issues, they want to talk about property or whatever. So that's continuing, and Everytown is the one responsible for that. So Everytown is in Mexico. Everytown has gone to an international, I don't know if it's one entity or more. I'm still waiting for a place called, what's it called? Arms to release more research on it, but yeah, go check out a place called Mom at Arms, which we're opening up here. And they have already broken the news about a couple of things. One is that Everytown is involved in the Mexico, let's call it front, right? And then China being involved in that as well. So there's more to that, and it's an indication that they're desperate and they're trying things that are literally illegal in order to. Well, let me drop this link for Mom at Arms. So Mom at Arms is one of our allies. She is, it's a group of ladies, moms, who were created in resistance or as a opposite to the antis trying to manipulate the whole mom theme. So anyway, they're also researchers. Instead of just running around or observing or reporting, they're out there researching and uncovering and discovering stuff and not taking things on face value and asking why and how. And that's where I found out about the Everytown being behind the Mexico thing. So we're probably going to see that fizzle out, and it'll be up to us to push on that, because that was it was instigation into international, I don't know what to call it, like an affront on freedom, because they're literally attempting to go outside the nation to attack the Second Amendment. There should be lots of interesting stuff that lawyers can sink their teeth into. So if you think most gun stuff or most 2A stuff is boring, then perhaps go try to find the people that are going to be working on those angles, because that'll be never been done before. Well, I don't think I need me on the screen. Let's get rid of me. All right, so next we're going to go in and look at these. Oh, next I flipped it to newest to oldest, and just that question about Mexico. But now we're going to go in and right-click and open in a new tab on all of these comments that have come in. And the last couple of times I've done this, and I don't always go live when I do this. I do it in other shows sometimes and stuff, but it's just been boilerplate from Everytown. So Everytown has an initiative right now to send people to their website. They have a similar system set up to what Gun Owners of America or some of the other organizations have, and they're able to facilitate their members, people that they bring to their website. They're able to kick out their boilerplate, basically. Their boilerplate is lame, but we'll see versions of it here in a moment, I suspect, because we've had something on the, how do you compare 400 to 3,000 or 4,000? There's really no way to do the math on that, but it's something like 100 or 1,000% more activity on the redefinition of firearms than we've had on the pistol braces. So effectively, firearms owners have ignored both and left pistol braces to sit stagnant, while the antis, mostly Everytown, has sent in this boilerplate, which I'll read once, and then I'll just say boilerplate, boilerplate, boilerplate a bunch of times. So their boilerplate reads, Dear Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, I am writing in support of the ATF's proposed rule docket number ATF 2021 R-05 that would help stem the rise of ghost guns. This proposed rule is a win for public safety and a loss for any criminals or extremists who wanted to buy untraceable guns with no background check and no questions asked. Ghost guns may be the scariest and fastest growing gun safety threat in the country, allowing anyone to make an untraceable weapon in less than an hour. Additionally, they have emerged as a weapon of choice for violent criminals, gun traffickers, dangerous extremists, and other people legally prohibited from buying firearms. I urge the ATF to finalize this rule and protect public safety. And then sincerely, and then it automatically adds their name. They don't even get to choose, that just adds their name. So boilerplate, boilerplate, boilerplate. Oh, different one. Boilerplate. That's interesting. Okay, next. Well, all right, good. So boilerplate, boilerplate, boilerplate. Good. Boilerplate from our side. Okay. This is their shitty boilerplate, but it's boilerplate. Should I leave these open? I'm going to close them, and then we'll use the absence of them to know which one is which. So this is good. That's boilerplate, and thank you for taking action to make guns violence safer, whatever the fuck that means. So no. Boilerplate, and we created another error. So how often has regulations.gov not been able to keep up with me opening 25 comments at a time? At least 5 times. So the servers that we're paying for at the federal level are weak. It's like the 9mm version of servers. They suck. All right, so what do we have open? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, that's freaking interesting. 13 out of 25 are pro. Probably, and then, or at least they're not anti-boilerplate, and then I guess the other side of that is anti-boilerplate. So it couldn't be more half and half, 12 to 13, right? But I saw at least one of these is goofy. So we'll read the remaining, whatever I just said, number of comments. Now, the first couple were boilerplate from the Everytown, so they are still the most current and, half of the first page here, but at least we're fighting. At least we have a front, and we're holding them at that front. So now we can't say hands down that 3,000 comments that came in are all Everytown, but we have to assume that they are, or at least majority. But here's at least some evidence that this 25 sample set has 14 or something that are pro. Let's find out. All right, so for that you people can make it easier for you people, I'm going to open up the screen here so that you people can read it easier. All right, so this one is comment number 104679. This has to be the most government overreach I've seen in quite some time. Citizens are not ignorant. They can be lied to 100 times, and you bet you're behind. They'll figure out a lie 99 out of 99. Figure out that lie out of 99 times. The idiot who claimed it's as simple as Legos, Chuck Genius Schumer, needs to prove he can build one like Legos for us. Show us he can make a functioning firearm out of an 80% frame, and I'll shut up and never say another word. But he can't do it because it takes exactly precision and tons of money worth of tools. Please, at least make it make sense for once. So sick of our rights being crapped on by the chipmunk, David Chipman, and the Jack around gang in Washington that we won't sit silent any longer. It's not going to just be forgotten. We will stand for our rights. We will sue. We will have politicians voted out for this. I'm going to make sure I didn't read that wrong. We won't sit silent any longer. It's not going to just be forgotten. We will stand for our rights. We will sue. We will have politicians voted out for this. Anyone with an elected position supporting this line of garbage will be voted out in the next 3 years, guaranteed. Americans, the real Americans who are showing our strength by costing sports leagues 2/3 of their income, are not going to be silenced any longer. We are done being treated like second-class citizens in our own country, and we control the market via the money we spend and where we spend it. We will continue to boycott and vote out all idiots in favor of this disaster of a bill. I mean, that might not be pretty, but I like it, especially in light of it was posted during that swarm of Everytown, whatever we want to call that. Next up is comment, and I'm commenting on this one. I said right in the title, I'm commenting, so deal with it. Leave if you don't want comments. 104726. I believe that ATF 2021 R-05 register number 2021-10058 will create an undue cost burden for the average American citizen and restrain the manufacturing of firearms both privately and commercially. The rule change is not feasible, nor is it practical. I oppose ATF 2021 R-05. I consider the proposed changes a direct attack on my Second Amendment rights as clearly stated in the Constitution. I'm just curious if I can post this in one comment over here. It only took 2 little comment fields to populate, but I believe that's a nice comment. It's like a nice folding knife of a comment. It's not good for everything, but it was certainly effective and it looks good. All right, next up is 104690. This is a crazy push to try and limit and restrict law-abiding gun owners in America, and that's really the only people this will affect. It's sad to see that you guys try and push the most pointless rules that don't even make any sense. How about go and actually enforce the penalties on criminals in these S-hole cities and go after them more and leave us law-abiding gun Americans law-abiding gun-loving Americans alone. These stupid rules don't affect gun criminals who possess their guns completely illegally anyway, so leave our stuff alone. All right, I'm commenting. This is a bullshit comment. This is not quite asking the jackboots to make your infringement of different color or more fuzzy or make it a better flavor, but instead this is blaming gun owners for gun ownership. So yeah, criminals or whatever, but don't be fooled. Guess what? Everybody in the United States has the right to own a firearm, so don't keep throwing a bunch of gun owners under the bus. And it doesn't matter where they live or none of that crap. Everybody gets to protect themselves. In fact, we should be pushing for gun ownership everywhere because gun ownership is what creates what's the word? It prevents the violence. Once people know that their victims are no longer victims, then they quit being violent. At least violent in the way that we see today with the extremes where you get people getting killed and stuff. So let's see, go about and actually enforce the penalties on these criminals. We're going to take a second. Well, I'm not going to watch the whole video, but I'm going to recommend you go back and watch a video that I showed Crump the last time we did one of these shows. And then Crump posted it on his channel. So I'm going to go to my history on YouTube, which is a really useful tool, and go down the list here and find this one. That's not the one. So I'm going to go back to Crump's News and find this one. And I suggest you listen to Larry from back in the day. But if you allow...
They came down on the Weaver family.
If you allow the antis to suggest that every gun crime should be punishable by whatever, just horrible consequences, then every time you walk across the street and jaywalk and have your firearm on, they're going to do whatever they can possibly do to you. And that'll become their new tactic to get rid of Second Amendment or to make it a burden to own firearms. Remember, by making it a burden or making it a difficult or expensive to own firearms, they understand that people are going to pursue different hobbies and recreational things. They're going to look for different things that aren't so difficult to obtain to achieve whatever security they are looking for in their mind. And trust me, there's going to be rich people that'll supply some bullshit device, right? So we don't want to make it we have to worry about our rights for safety. It's about tyranny. And we don't have to make it where the tyranny means we're going to stand up enough to take their stupid ambush question and say that we're preparing for a specific situation. It is the presence of firearms that creates an environment where they can't walk over you. It doesn't mean there has to be armed resurrection every time there's a disagreement. It means that they speak to you like an adult, like an equal player in the game. And it doesn't have to be challenged. We've gone for hundreds of years without having it be challenged. So they're trying to create or question the scenario and everything. So don't lean into that. And this leans into it, saying go enforce the penalties on gun criminals. Go follow up on all the 4473s. You might as well say, go stand next to them and say, whatever they want and rah, rah, rah. Nah. Looking for any good contests? No, this isn't that kind of show. So this is not a comment that I'd recommend posting. It might make you feel good, but you're not actually thinking about our team and who else on our team and the tactics that they're using against us. Good to hear. We're talking about the comments to the two ATF the comments that have been written to the two ATF periods of commenting, which are necessary for the system that the ATF is required to do in order to change rules around. So I don't give a crap about any contests or anything like that. There's other shows where you can talk to people about that. But thanks for showing up. If you want to talk about these comments, that's what we're here for. Next up is 104766. This proposal is far too broad in its scope Any chunk of metal could be defined as a receiver, regardless of its machining phase. This interpretation will open a Pandora's box of regulations that will do nothing but further infringe on the rights of citizens. I like it. Let's start adding the section that says, I am against whatever this guy, no, this guy didn't have it either. I believe that will create an undue cost burden. Like that's a good way to start it. That's some GOA boilerplate, I believe. But notice how none of these even included the docket number. Every one of the antis did because they're just clicking boilerplate. So it's probably a good idea if you're going to do this stuff. Let me go find one that actually has the piece in it that we're talking about here. Do any of ours have it? It doesn't look like any of the good ones have it today. Here we go. RE. So if you go to the GOA boilerplates, just add this in there. Right on. And URA and whatever, Semper Fi, I guess you people say. We got lots of Marines around here, so we're okay with Marines. Let's see. We're going to go back. Right now. There we go. I don't know if it's, yeah, that's the last one we read. This will be the next one. So what I'm going to do now is throw up a commercial. This time it'll be a commercial for a dude who does a live conversation every Saturday, long format conversation focused on guns, often Second Amendment, and goes live and has people on to interview as well. That was the first commercial I ever made, and I had no idea it was so short until I made it. So it's now the world's shortest commercial for G23. And it gives me a chance to go drink something there. All right, so next up is comment number 104-721. These arbitrary rule changes will do nothing to stop crime. They will only turn law-abiding citizens into felons. Again, great, but drop this in there. Doesn't cost nothing to copy and paste that. Next up is 104-760. Dear ATFE, well, if you're going to do all that, then say BATFE. I am a gun owner with various skeletal defects and disabilities. I use a medical brace as I am physically unable to properly protect myself with a firearm without injuring myself. As the direction of your legalities for a variety of subset issues with firearms, including ghost guns, is increasingly hindering a population of people like myself who do not have the usual means of self-defense and self-protection, whether it be due to class, wealth, physical ability, race, and or systematic oppression. This is frankly appalling. Working with proper and reasonable gun owners instead of against them will guarantee a decline in the popularity of unintended consequences. The legitimate reasons pertaining to your track record, I have decided to remain anonymous in my identity. Any collection of identifiable information is not to be used without my consent. That's a weird one. That was the most interesting and I don't know what to say. That's an interesting one. First off, I don't know if I read it bad or if it's just worded differently, but it starts off with the whole, I thought it was going to be incorrectly posted in the redefinition of firearms when it should have gone to braces. But they start out talking about the brace and then kind of say, and like you're doing with the brace, you're also doing this. So that's interesting. The only thing, I'm not saying, I don't know what to say about this one because it's so unique, but I'm wondering now if it's not a logarithm that's going to read these things, I'm just wondering what a human is going to read this as. Because when I first read it, gun owner with physical defects and disabilities and a medical brace, I immediately thought, oh, this one is in the wrong pile. And I'm guessing that the registration, what is it called, regulations.gov, again, if I don't know if those are agents or if those are just employees of the government or if those are part-time temp help, tasked with some set of criteria to do this. We don't know. So I'm wondering how they're going to, what am I trying to say? What slot they're going to put this one in. I hope it goes on our side. So outrageous that you're trying to take firearms rights away. A firearm that is incomplete should never be categorized as a firearm when it can't be a projectile. Please stop trying to infringe on the Second Amendment. When we lose our rights, then we will lose our freedom. Criminals misuse weapons, not law-abiding citizens. I think it's okay to say outrageous that you're trying to take our firearms rights away. If we all just said, please don't do this 100,000 times or whatever, what does that mean? But this is human and it's real, and I don't know. I gotta believe it's better to use real words like that than to just have a shit ton of boilerplate and specifically don't do this. Period. Thank you. Goodbye. Although both work, I think that there's a human factor, and if it is a human being that's reading these things, if nothing else, you're changing that human being. Whoever that sucker is that's working for the ATF, hopefully they go home after reading all these comments and go, I'm working for a heinous jackboot thuggery bureau. I'm either going to change it from within or leave. So hopefully we're working on the human element of this too. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think that's happening. All right, so next up is comment 104694. This is a crazy push to try and limit and restrict law-abiding gun owners in America, and that's really the only people this will affect. It's sad to see that you guys will try and push the most pointless rules that don't even make sense. How about go and actually enforce the penalties on gun criminals in these S-hole cities and go after, really, this is boilerplate? So that's the dumbest boilerplate for a bunch of people to use, but whatever. So 104725. This is GOA boilerplate with the two big paragraphs in front of it. We'll read those big paragraphs. And then we'll read the rest of the boilerplate because I haven't read it in probably 2 weeks. Let's see. So the beginning is, the answer is not to make harsher laws against law-abiding citizens, but to make harsher laws against criminals who violate not only gun laws, but any laws. When a criminal sees that punishment for assaulting someone with a gun or robbing someone with a gun are soft on them, the criminals will take that chance. When criminals see that the police officers or less police officers are working on the streets, they'll take that chance. Most criminals acquire their guns via stolen guns, not only from house burglaries, which is mainly dropped by the ADA as a misdemeanor instead of a felony. Nowadays, a criminal gets a tap on the back for committing a crime. So many criminals will take a chance to commit a crime, especially with a gun, because that gives them the power that they need to move towards committing a crime with it. Hence, we need to have harsher punishment for criminals who are caught with a gun or criminals who commit a crime using a gun. Making it more difficult for your average law-abiding citizens to own a gun is not the answer. We should have the right to defend ourselves from great bodily injury or even death by the means of protecting ourselves with a gun. Not only that, but we need to be able to protect our families and our home with a gun from a criminal who are ready to do whatever it takes to go forward with his or her plan of committing a home burglary, rape, home invasion, or death, or murder. I speak from experience, who has unfortunately seen many of these crimes committed by criminals with guns. Go after the criminals, not your law-abiding citizens. You have this whole situation backwards. Then it starts the GOA boilerplate, which is one of their first boilerplates from back in the day, and it's probably one of the most used ones. I like it, so I'm going to read it again. ATF 2021 R-05. The ATF must immediately withdraw their proposed rules to criminalize so-called ghost guns. That's a good thing to add in your emails if you're sending it. To start, the very phrase ghost guns is a politically charged pejorative used to scare Americans and justify the infringement on our right to craft a homemade firearm, a right ancillary to the Second Amendment. In fact, some of the items being classified as ghost guns are described as non-firearms because they do not meet any federal definition and are not functioning weapons. Other items referred to as ghost guns are completed 80% receiver kits, which can be described as fully functioning homemade firearms rather than the manipulative ghost gun phrase. When the state of California and the Giffords Law Center sued to force ATF to enact gun control by alleging threats posed by ghost guns, it was the ATF that filed a motion to dismiss the case. Here is what the ATF said in January of 2021, just a few months ago. While any specific crime is a tragedy, 8 crimes out of the 1.1 million violent crimes committed in the 6-year period is a far cry from an overwhelming wave that would cause the state injury sufficient to confer standing. Nor can California plausibly plead that those crimes would not have occurred with traditional serialized firearms. The ATF must live by its own words and recognize the constitutional right of the United States citizens to craft their own firearms to keep themselves safe. No proposed gun control law, including the proposed regulation of so-called ghost guns, will stop criminals from being able to obtain and use firearms in the commission of crimes. So that's the boilerplate that we often see when I say boilerplate. But the GOA has, I don't know, maybe a dozen of these boilerplates, and according to Crump, they come up randomly when people go to their site. So you can always type in your first paragraph or whatever, and then it'll be included in the whole comment, but then the boilerplate below, that's what I just read there. All right, so next up is 104.765. I believe that ATF 2021 R-05 Federal Register number 2021-10058 will create an undue cost burden to the average American citizen and restrain the manufacturing of firearms both privately and commercially. The rule change is not feasible, nor is it practical. I oppose ATF 2021 R-05. I am an American citizen that has been creating firearms for my own use since 1996. I feel this is a burden that will restrain me from exercising my constitutional rights. Unreasonable government seizure of private property without compensation is banned under the Fifth Amendment. The rule change will not stop or reduce crime in any way. Short and sweet, that's a piece of boilerplate at the top there that I've seen other places, so they cut and paste that and then added their own sentence to the end there. All these comments are boring to me. Hold on, I'll play another commercial while I drink some coffee. Hold on. This one is for Alan Acorn.
We would like to say thank you to owlandanchor.com for great two-way items like these. Go to owlandanchor.com and place an order today.
I guess I probably shouldn't put that on top of the commercial. So yeah, if you haven't heard of Owl and Anchor, that's a marketing patch, sticker, decal, printing company out of California. We get a lot of our products made there. We visited them before. They're real. They're humans. They go to SHOT Show, set up there, and they've done badges from everything from like NASA to I don't even know how many law enforcement organizations. They do the PVC interpretation of the metal badges like nobody else, and then of course they have the Patch Club official where you can jump over there and you can get a head start on some of the limited edition and kind of hidden perks or hidden patches that they've got over there. And then they have a regular supply of long-term designs that they've had for a long time, and then of course they're always coming up with new designs. Special bonus, their patches are not made in Asia. Just saying. Next up is 104.763. ATF 2021 R-05 does not need to be passed as it is in violation of the law of the land. It violates Article 1, Section 9. It violates the Second Amendment. It violates the It violates the rights of law-abiding U.S. citizens. Do not pass or approve this disgraceful law. I like those. I'd like to see like thousands of that one. Let me see if that one, just for curiosity, does that one fit in a 200 character thing? Oh, almost. Look how it perfectly fits. That whole first chunk fits into the 200 characters that YouTube gives us to do a comment. And then the second sentence literally sets it off as its own comment. That's nice. That works out really well. That's mathematically sound. Next up is 104.744. This definition is arbitrary and plainly intended to infringe upon the civil rights of U.S. citizens. It is a part of this administration's promise to implement gun control. It serves no useful purpose other than to further limit the ability of honest tax-paying citizens to avail themselves of their constitutional rights. All right, I'm commenting today. How hard is it to go constitutionally protected rights. You're a little bit more accurate, and you're not giving any more power to the Constitution other than it's a stop sign for the government to leave us alone. But quit acting like the Constitution gives us nothing or anything. The Constitution's just there to let the government know where their boundaries are. But just a tidbit, or what am I saying? I'm just what's the word for that? I can't think what I'm saying. But it's overall, it's a good comment. I'm just being picky. I was trying to think of. Next up is 104.803. This rule is unacceptable and should be removed from the registry immediately. No exceptions. This is a blatant overstepping of power on behalf of the ATF. We will not comply with this nonsense, so remove it from the registry. Braces do not constitute a stock, therefore they do not make your pistol a shotgun or an SBR or an SPS. Oh, man, it was so good. And then it's in the wrong pile. So how busy are you that you go through all the steps and put it in the wrong pile? That's I don't know what to say. So whatever. That's somebody who had good intentions, and then, you know, at the last minute, they put their stuff, shut everything down. They stuck everything into the wrong pile. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure it just goes to garbage if they do that. Stuff. All right, I just accidentally closed everything. So now I gotta wait for stupid YouTube to open up a pile. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure. All right, now we can go back to the thing. We're gonna run a poll real quick. Here's the deal. I got a flat tire, so I ain't going nowhere, literally. So do we read? Oh wait, what do we do? What do we read next? Right? Come on. Next, 25, which would be 25 through 50 of the receivers, or the first, I guess, I'll just put it like this, first 25 races. So we'll see what people think, and because I kind of want to go look at the next 25 of those, and I kind of want to, well, we have to read the pistol brace ones, right, because of the law or whatever, but I kind of want to go in and look at the next 25. So here's a summary while you're voting for all the people that showed up late. Does that bother you when I clap like that? Nobody does that on live shows, ever. Because of why? I don't know why, because they're afraid to clap like that. They're not happy about things. So what do? We're going to recap. So we went live something like 43 minutes ago. Let's just say 44 minutes ago. And what we started to do was read the comments about the redefinition of firearms. Now, the last couple of days I've opened that up, looked at the last 25, and they've been exclusively Bloomberg boilerplates, anti-rhetoric, right? And today it was about half. It was only about 50% Bloomberg rhetoric. Their Bloomberg rhetoric was 100% boilerplate, if I remember correctly, and ours was ours was almost all written. There was only, 2 or 3 boilerplates or stuff copied and pasted out of boilerplates. So to the people who are actually commenting, you're the resistance to the Everytown campaign right now. Everybody else is just sitting there comfortably on some couch, sipping probably Zima and watching what you're doing. And then, of course, Everytown is out there working up a sweat. They're kind of doing like some kind of a hot yoga, I'm guessing, is how they end up getting their comments out there. Is some sort of there's a lot of sweatiness and spandex when they send out their comments. So we only have 3 votes, even though allegedly, according to the robots tell us that there's 9 humans out there. We know that I'm one of them because I'm looking at my own show. You can see it right there, right? So that means, doing the math, that there's 8 people watching this, right? Well, only 3 of them voted, and we all know that narcs can't vote on these polls because of their sergeants won't let them. So that means there's 5 narcs watching this, and there's only 3 humans. Well, guess what, narcs? We're doing what the humans want. So we're going to end that poll, and you narcs can't even vote now. So even if your sergeants say, oh, no, we're getting figured out, go ahead and vote. doesn't work anymore. We figured you out already. So we're going to go read the more of the redefinition of receiver ones. So I got to go over to browse, and then I got to go down to newest to oldest. But here's the trick. I already read the first page. So I'm going to go down and pick a different page, and I'm going to pick an odd number page because odd number pages are better, more consistent than even number pages, which are mostly stupid. And then we're going to right click and open in a new tab on the 25 comments here. These will technically be comment, like, what are these? 125 to 150 or something like that of the most current. But this will be a different sample set, kind of, let's say that you're doing a core sample on the Earth, trying to desperately find evidence that global warming is happening or global Earth change is a thing, right? So you're digging a big Earth core. You're basically popping a big hole in the Earth balloon, and you pull up that core, you're going to get like chunks of granite and chunks of, I don't know, diamonds. I don't know what comes out of a Earth core, but you know what I'm saying. You're going to, like, messed it all up. We're blaming Bloomberg for that. 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go from the bottom and just do a couple more. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're taking a sample, an Earth core, from way deeper. We're like 5 times deeper than we were the first time. So we should expect to find oil or diamonds, rubies, that kind of stuff, or just poop, like dinosaur poop on top of dinosaur poop on top of dinosaur poop. All right, here we go. I think I opened up more than 25. We're going to find out. Ugh, anti-boilerplate. Oh, this, okay, should I? I'm going to go read all of them so we can just eliminate the boilerplate, and then we'll go back and read the good ones. Oh, boilerplate, anti-boilerplate. Good. Anti-boilerplate. Good. Anti-boilerplate. What the hell? Anti-boilerplate. Anti-boilerplate. Oh. There we go. Nice. We're winning. Oh, anti-boilerplate. There. And, oh, we got a whole bunch more. Okay, well, guess what? Now you don't, oh, no, anti-boilerplate. Anti-boilerplate. Oh, that's that lawyer boilerplate, but it's on our side at least. And, wow, all right. Well, guess what? All the people in this poll that voted for go back and look at the receivers, be proud of yourself. First off, you're not a bunch of narcs or robots, you're real. And you voted for the actual winning side. So we just opened up a random core sample of comments, and look at this. So of the 25-ish that I opened, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 of them. I opened up more than 25, so I might have closed a couple. There was issues with this, but if you were about to go sell all your guns because you were scared that guns are about to become illegal, I might hold on to those guns for at least another 2 days because we don't know what's happening now. We might have just fixed 2A with this show, but we'll find out. So now we're going to go back and read something like 22 comments. All you people that didn't even vote, suck on it, because now we're reading comments from the people that did vote. Is anything going on over here? Hot yoga. I voted. Rock the vote. Me too. Headed to the mortar pool to dream about Zola. I don't know what that means. So, all right. And then Wesley's out there. All right. So, do we already say hey to this dude? I think that's everybody that's new out here. Do you guys know this guy? This guy's new. It says he's a Marine. Also, there was some other person in here earlier, and Midnight was here before. I don't know if he's still here. And Warsaw's out there. All right, so now we're going back to whatever. So here's the deal. I always leave about 25% approximately. I have a much wider monitor than regular people, but on a regular screen, this would be like 25%. of the screen is for you people to make your comments or whatever. Like I say, we're constantly watching here. We got robots monitoring how many people are out there, and that's why I can tell when we got humans out there or robot narcs or whatever. All right, so now we're reading comments. 104810. This proposed rule is a complete overstep by a branch of government. Yep, it's a bureau. You guys have no rights. Why is it always you guys? Y'all are sexist in your comments. So start calling them gals. You gals have no rights to restrict us as law-abiding gun owners and tell us what we already owned previously under the law and purchased legally. Now we will be felons overnight just because we like using stabilizing braces on some of our firearms. This is a clear overstep, and this proposed new rule needs to be removed immediately. How hard is it to write that in every comment, right? All right, so next up is 104811. This proposed rule needs to be removed from the Federal Registry immediately. This is a clear overstep by the government to try to enact more restrictions on law-abiding gun owners. This is unconstitutional, and if you guys force us to rule down law-abiding America, if you gals force this rule down law-abiding Americans' throats, we will not comply. All right, next up is 104828. This is unconstitutional and should be removed immediately. Millions and millions of people, right, in America who own firearms should be ready to disband you gals with these actions you gals make. You gals are trying to limit and restrict how law-abiding Americans can access and buy firearms. You fellas should be ashamed to even be working for an organization that would be submitting proposed rules like this. Remove this proposed rule immediately, as well as the stupid race rule you guys are trying to push down our throats as well. I mean, whatever. You don't have to be able to write good or have like fancy eloquence or whatever. So I dig it, but whatever. So next up, you maybe say, well, they did say remove this proposed rule immediately. That's good enough. Next up is 104830. This proposed rule is beyond even an overstep from the government. And really shows us, all of us, how you gals are really only going to just try and restrict and govern us law-abiding gun owners, when in reality we are the law-abiding Americans who actually follow the law. I need to make this bigger for you people. I can barely read this already. My glasses getting bad? Are your glasses getting bad? Let's see. And you guys have no right to try and restrict our gun rights any further than they already have been. Remove this proposed rule immediately. I'm a big fan of ending the comments with stuff like this. I feel like these comments get more points because they have something in there that orders the stupid employees who came up with this garbage. It orders them around. All right, next up is 104847, which is ATF or GOA boilerplate with a paragraph in front of it. We'll read the paragraph. Crafting your own firearm for legal use from an 80% kit is no more... Come on, guy. Crafting your own firearm for legal use from an 80% kit is no more harmless... Oh, I see. No more harmful is what he should have said. She should have said, than rebuilding a classic motorcycle, building a bicycle, or restoring an old automobile. Well, first off, I've done all three of these activities. It's the satisfaction of doing something yourself and having something unique for your efforts. Nothing nefarious has taken place, and I truly don't believe people with criminal intent are willing to make the effort. It's just too much trouble. Eliminating access to those kits will only hurt law-abiding citizens, not criminals. I urge you to stop this effort. Thank you. What do you think of thank you? I'm going to put that as a poll. Do the, let's see, does thank you need to be included? Right? I'm going to put that as the question, but here, unlike a regular pollster, when you watch some of these other chats, most chats you look at don't even bother with polls because they don't care about your opinion at all. But we're going to do one step beyond the regular 2-question poll, the regular people who kind of care about you. Does this need to be included? heck yes. See what I did there? And then we're just going to have yes. See how there's a subtle difference? And then we're going to add options because I'm not afraid to let you really express yourselves. And then we're going to say no. And then we're going to capitalize the no part. So there. Now you get a full nuance of response. So first off, you get to respond because the other channels that don't even care about your thing don't even care. And then some channels that kind of care only give you 2 questions. We're going to give you all 4 questions eventually when I click that button. Okay. I'm not going to influence the poll. So there. So then we go, that was the rest of that one was boilerplate. Next up is comment number 104809. Take down this proposed rule immediately. We, as law-abiding Americans, do not support this move to so clearly overstep our rights as law-abiding Americans. We do not support this rule, and we will not comply. Remove this tyrannical rule regarding stabilizing braces. They do not make your gun any more scary. In fact, it is safer to have a stabilizing brace on it, for you can shoot your gun more safely for the shooter as well as the people around you. Or shooting it is safer. You'd be able to have some sort of stabilizing brace on the back of your pistol if we want to. You guys have no right to take away our rights illegally like this, and we will not comply if you guys try to push this down our throats. As well as you guys have no rights to tell us we need to register when we already purchased them legally under the law. We will not comply. Me and millions of others who are passionate about our Second Amendment, as well as protecting their families and their lives, this will affect our ability to protect our family and our property. Without my stabilizing braces, my firearms would be a lot harder to aim and shoot. If I ever had a criminal break-in, it would be more dangerous for my family in the household if I cannot aim my, that's interesting, aim my effing gun. This is so ridiculous. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Remove this unconstitutional proposed rule immediately and stay out of our lives. Go after actual criminals who are committing the crimes, and maybe actually go after the Democrats for allowing all these criminals out of jail as soon as they get arrested. People like Joe B. and his crew who want to let all criminals out of jail because it's racist. Y'all are Biden's tyrannical bunch of government or branch of government, and all you guys are doing is trying to make it harder and harder to obtain a firearm as a law-abiding citizen. That went on and on. You've witnessed like a mild DJing here. This was like, I don't think it was DJ's comment because it was only a giant paragraph, but this part about it, I don't know. Here's the thing, made me think. When the part where he goes, I cannot aim my effing gun, it goes, F asterisk 3K, capital K, asterisk ING. So it doesn't even look like it. I mean, it's kind of like the way a grandpa would say effing, I think, because you can't read it that way. You'd have to really know what the word is, but it's not appropriate. I mean, whether or not thank you is appropriate, we all know that effing gun isn't appropriate. They even tell you in there. So obviously this little glitch got it through their initial filter, but I don't think it's necessary, and it's probably going to taint the comment. But I think this thing's, as I was reading it, it's, nobody has to be super good at their punctuation or your capitalization or your spelling or any of the stuff crap that makes English fancy or whatever. So as long as you get the point across, I'm pretty sure that's all that matters legally. And this definitely gets the point across. But when I'm reading this one, I'm thinking this person's literally just writing it, probably typing it. Like, I don't think they had it thought out. They just started typing. It almost seems like they're working themselves up. They repeated some stuff a couple of times, which you're going to do when you're kind of thinking about stuff and just kind of going, what do they call that, stream of conscious or whatever. Here's the thing. I don't think that's good or bad, but what I'm wondering is, because I think it's necessary, I think it makes this whole thing real when people have comments like this to compare with, well, look at this lawyer boilerplate coming up, which is equal. Like, I think they're both equal. Like, this is super necessary. It isn't perfect, but it is perfect, right? So anyway, what I'm thinking of is none of that, but I don't know if we're already at this point, which we probably are, or if we're just a minute in front of this point. But pretty soon, AI is going to be able to read all of these. And I'm not talking like the couple of 2,500 I'll eventually be able to read, but like all of them, right? And when they read all of these things, that AI, it knows how to sell you the right flavor Mountain Dew, right? Like it knows what you got a hankering for lunch tomorrow because it knows everything you've ever ate for lunch, like that. It doesn't have to think about everything you've ever ate for lunch. It knows what you want to eat for lunch tomorrow. So when they set that AI, or the AI decides to sit in and absorb this, what is this going to tell us? What is the AI going to do with this? How much are they going to learn about gun owners from these comments? And I know people aren't thinking of that when they're writing their comments, but you're writing comments to the future. You're writing what some historian in the future will be reading and using to decide what 2021 was. And it's just another DJing you people now. Now you've been DJ'd. All right. So I think it says freaking F. Oh, look at that. See, I'm not one of the youths. The youths know how to write in the fancy words. We had a different type of thing back in the day where we had to like type 16 times in order to get an F to show up on a screen. So we would come up with different kind of shorthand, like 111, because we were too lazy to type in like 75843335665433222, right? Like the pain in the ass to type text back in the day. So I'm used to like 7 different versions of stuff, and the youth's versions of stuff isn't one of my things. So thanks for the translation there. That's probably what it is. Although it's weird that I guess maybe this is a youth. I just assume this is some old guy. To me, when I'm reading this, when I read this, I was like, right on. And then by about here, I'm like, they're sitting at home in their front of their computer. And then I'm like, by about here, yeah, they're sitting there in like a wife beater, like somewhere around here. And I'm like, yeah, that's a no air conditioned house with the fan going. And then, yeah, this guy's like 90. But that was just what I was thinking. I don't know why. So maybe it is just a young kid and they're writing like a 90, like what I think a 90-year-old writes like. Next up is 104.793. The proposed rules relating to changing how firearms frames or receivers are defined creates problems that should not be adopted. Chief among these problems is the confusion they create. The NPRM is over 100 pages long and explains a very complicated scheme of how to define a frame or receiver. This is boilerplate, by the way. This is completely unnecessary. Where there was once a simple definition that was sufficient for decades, there are now 100 pages providing more than a handful of poorly defined grandfathered configurations, a loose statement about similar configurations, a requirement that new designs be submitted for ATF classification, and the requirement to engrave not just one, but multiple serial numbers on potentially multiple receivers in a single firearm. The problems that recently developed with the definition after decades of use don't need 100 pages of redefinition and multiple serial numbers to be solved. Even the statute that the ATF is charged with enforcing by Congress indicates that a firearm only has one frame or receiver. Yet ATF now wants to declare that there can be multiple receivers in a single firearm, and in turn require that multiple serial numbers be marked on these receivers. It's clear that these serial number markings on a single new firearm must match, but thereafter serialized parts must be exchanged, allowing for different serial numbers on the same firearm. Is there a controlling serial number for the firearm? And which receiver does that serial number reside on? And which number will be relayed by police and trace? Or is it every number on a firearm traced? What happens when a firearm with multiple serialized components is repaired with a component that has a different serial number? This just scratches the surface on the confusion this proposed rule creates about the definition of a firearm or receiver, or frame or receiver. ATF should drop this complicated scheme and find a simple way, as suggested above, to follow the law. ATF needs to develop a simple definition that people can understand, like a single characteristic of a single part that all firearms have, and which does not have to be sent to the ATF for an official determination. No, I thought that was boilerplate, but it might be really similar to boilerplate. I guess it's probably really similar to boilerplate. I liked it until the last paragraph. This last paragraph, ATF should drop this complicated scheme and find a simple way. No, how about drop this complicated scheme, period. Don't give them some other job to do. Just tell them to stop doing what they're doing right then. And then let's get rid of the NFA, which would drop all of this. Next up, 104.839. I am commenting in support of the Department of... Oh, shit. This is a pro. got through my filter. I am commenting in support of the Department of Justice's proposed rule to amend the ATF's definition of firearm and frame or receiver so that all privately made firearms carry serial numbers and are regulated the same as other firearms, in particular by requiring a criminal background check. This proposed rule would stop the proliferation of deadly and untraceable ghost guns by keeping them out of the hands of individuals prohibited from possessing firearms and allowing privately made firearms recovered in crime scenes to be traced back to their last legal owner. That would solve all crimes. Although Connecticut is one of the few states to regulate ghost guns without federal action, our law is easily evaded. Thank you for taking action to make Americans safer from gun violence. F you, loser. So that's a bad one. That's a that's a boilerplate from Connecticut. That was weird because I'm not sure why there must be an organization in Connecticut specifically or something. We've read that one a couple of times in the past. Next up is 104838. This is unconstitutional and should be removed immediately. Millions and millions of people in America who own firearms should be ready to disband you guys with these actions you guys make. You guys are trying to limit and restrict how law-abiding Americans can access and buy firearms. You guys should be ashamed of working for an organization that would be submitting proposed rules like this. Remove this proposed rule immediately, as the stupid brace rule you guys are trying to push down our throats as well. Did we just read that one? Is that boilerplate? That's annoying. There's Pink out there. Good morning. Yeah, afternoon for you probably. Let's see. Comment number 104841. Oh man, I'm about to yawn big time. You're getting a commercial.
Thank you for supporting.
Well, that's not a commercial. That's the end of the show. So how about DC Project? You knew it was coming.
The DC Project, 50 women descending on our nation's capital to put a face on the Second Amendment.
For me, the Second Amendment is about family heritage.
To defend against hate crimes.
My right to protect my family.
Gives me the right to decide when I need protection.
Because you should never be denied a chance to protect yourself and your loved ones.
My firearm levels the playing field against someone trying to hurt me.
It means survival.
My responsibility.
I am my own first responder.
Because some believe no means yes.
It's a peace of mind.
Provide food for my family.
Recreation and sport.
Confidence that I can take care of myself.
My right to life.
It's my liberty.
I refuse to be a victim.
The protection of my children.
Confidence in our nation's present and future.
Legacy.
Legacy.
And legacy.
My birthright as an American.
And mine too.
So here's a challenge to yourself. If you think you're so 2A, how many ladies in that video that I play can you identify on site? And that means, you know, by knowing who they are, you probably know their stories, their organizations, and their accomplishments. So challenge yourself, and I think there's 3 or 4 in there that I don't know off the top of my head. Let's see. Mean comments, man. Poor ATF. Yeah. I feel bad for the ATF too, that they should have never taken that job. Let's see. So next, did I read that one? Whatever, that one was super easy. What part shall not be infringed? Do you not understand that people have the right to keep and bear arms? How can I sit there drinking coffee for an entire commercial and then yawn after? All right, next up is 104868. We already read this one. Oh, 838. Close. We almost read this one. So next up is 104868. Since the founding of the Republic, Americans have made firearms at home. This is boilerplate. In the 21st century, steel and wood have given way to aluminum and plastic. This new rule by the ATF attempts to regulate the making of firearms by private persons who are not FFL holders and to regulate those guns which are made within a private residence for personal use. I'm not reading the rest of it. This isn't one of the best boilerplates. Next up is 104853. The Second Amendment assures that our right to bear arms shall not be infringed upon. I really don't know how anyone can misinterpret that so badly. So the only answer is that you all simply can't stand the idea of Americans having the freedoms not given to us by the Constitution, but protected by the Constitution. I might have misread that sentence. I really don't know how anyone can misinterpret that so badly. So the only answer is that you all simply can't stand the idea of Americans having the freedoms not given to us by the Constitution, but protected by the Constitution. Do you make less money off of us this way? Yes. Are you unable to track us this way? Of course. We all, the world, know this is the end game right along with completely disarming us if you can. Please try to remember that you work for us. I might have missaid that. Please try to remember that you work for us, not the other way around. You, in fact, should not even exist were our Constitution to actually be followed as written. So no, this is not okay because to your chagrin, we are not a communist state. All right, but who the hell puts chagrin in there? We would leave the chagrins out of this whole thing. I like that one. It's a little bit in your face, but somebody's got to be in your face once in a while. This is the lawyer boilerplate. You can tell it a mile away because it's 700 miles long. It's like the longest comment ever. And there's like 1 billion slash quotes in here because the lawyers must like using slash quotes. They get paid every time they click slash quote, or I don't know why. Maybe because of ditto machines needed that, but I'm not reading it. It's a good one, but it's super boring and lawyery. I'm not reading it. Yeah, exactly. That's because in honor, no, in what's the word? Whatever. I guess I'll just say in honor of the Europeans. We use the fancy European version of those words. We actually say it like that all the time over here. We just make sure that our movies and TV don't say it that way because we don't want y'all thinking that we say it like what you say it. Let's see, 104.813. Remove this unconstitutional rule to overregulate our firearms parts so that it's clearly a violation. Remove this unconstitutional rule to overregulate our firearms parts that is so clearly a violation of our rights as law-abiding Americans. Gun control does not work. Look at these Democrat cities with the strictest gun laws, and yet they have the worst crime areas all around the country. Los Angeles, Chicago, Portland. The list goes on. Gun control doesn't work and only affects the law-abiding gun owners. Criminals will not comply anyway, so you guys need to cut this and the stabilizing grace nonsense out. Step off our Second Amendment rights. Ooh, snap. Are we allowed to say step off our Second Amendment rights? I kind of like that. Except I would say step off our Second Amendment protected rights, but otherwise I dig that one. You can't take the guns by the hairs of our chagrinny grin. Yeah, well, you're the one responsible for saying that, and it went up on the screen, so nobody's going to act like you didn't say it now. 104.867. In regards to docket number 8, ATF 2021 R-05, I would like to urge you not to continue on any further. I kind of like this. I've just been copying and pasting good chunks in case anybody ever wants to use them again or use something similar. This proposed rule has nothing to do with gun safety or mass shootings and everything to do with criminalizing currently law-abiding citizens. This proposed rules by the ATF will make it harder financially for the common gun owner by requiring a stamp tax for certain pieces of a firearm, and also in the sense that anything purchased through an FFL costs more because of NICS. Typically, serialized parts cost more money than firearms parts that are non-serialized and need completed by the buyer to be part of a functioning firearm. This proposed rule targets the American citizen that is already abiding too many nonsense gun laws and regulations rather than trying to do something about criminals with firearms. Every once in a while, I just like to say a sentence again. This proposed rule targets the American citizen that is already abiding too many nonsense gun laws and regulations rather than trying to do something about criminals with firearms. If the ATF could just once come up with quality common sense laws and regulations that would actually help prevent criminals from obtaining firearms, maybe less law-abiding gun owners would despise the ATF. But for now, the ATF serves minimal purpose and is just another money pit for taxpayer dollars. It is we the people, not we the ATF. It is we the people, not we the ATF. We have Second Amendment rights that shall not be infringed any further than they have already been. I'm licking my little finger there. because of that one needs a good snip. So I like this, and I'm sure somebody's going to hork this and make it into a t-shirt and profit off of it. But, you know, that's capitalism, I guess. That was a good one. I dig it. And I don't think you have to have good words and letters and periods and crap. Like, you can just get the point across, and they'll figure it out. Next up is 104.820. Enforce. Oh, this is one sentence in front of a bunch of GOA boilerplate. Enforce the current laws before adding any more. Remove illegal aliens. Audit the social security numbers of everyone in the country. This is the land of opportunity, not entitlement. All right, since I'm commenting, don't be an idiot. Get rid of the criminals, but people that fled here from a country that was like whatever, totalitarian or socialist, they're on our side, guy or gal. Usually it's a guy getting all like this. Not always. So gal, calm down on the illegal aliens part and start going illegal criminals or some shit, because you're alienating people you don't need to alienate. And again, somebody coming up here, like, did everybody's grandma come over here with the right papers? Like, what the hell? Like, unless you go talk to your great-great-grandma or whoever it was, make sure they had the right papers. Quit acting like everybody always had the right papers to come here. People come to this country because we're a good country that incorporates all, right? So quit forgetting that part of it and blaming it on people that they want you to blame it on. That's the rift that they want you to acknowledge. Change that rift. Come up with your own freaking rift. That's my little rage on people that are going to just blanket hate. Like, don't bother blanketing hate. Specifically target hate and think about where you're targeting it. 104.801. This rule is completely unconstitutional. It'll reclassify millions of Americans' guns and make it law-abiding gun owners criminals overnight. We will not stand for this, and we demand it be removed from the registry. I mean, I don't know. Oh, I guess I'll go over here and see what this one is doing. Does thank you need to be included? It'll look like polite no gets most of it. An enthusiastic yes got the least amount of points. A casual yes got some points. A casual, no, like an enthusiastic no only got a couple of points. And then like what do you call this? The compliant no's got the most of them. So, what was I just about to say? I was just about to do a poll on, will make law-abiding gun owners criminals overnight. You ready for this? No one else in 2A has the balls to make this a poll. Is good? Oh no, I'm going to do it like this. Again, I don't have to limit myself to just 2 because we care, right? Is, come on. Let's make it very good. Is good. Is not good. Unnecessary. Can they spell that for me? Good. All right, so this is asking, will this stupid quote that's in half of it, will this make law-abiding gun owners criminals overnight? Is that a very good thing to add? It's okay to add, it's good. No, it's not a good thing to add, and it's like bad, it's unnecessary. All right, now let's go look at that last poll. So the last poll, somebody stole my poll? This is censorship. There it is. Does thank you need to be included? I think yes. Or no, wait, I was going to say I think no. So I would have also voted no, I think. I don't think heck no. I don't think it's bad if you put it in there, but I definitely don't think it's needed. And there's certainly no reason to be polite to your employees when they're being bad, right? You don't, well, I guess some people would say you want to be polite during a reprimand, but civil during a reprimand, but they're the one that brought it up. They're the one that created the problem. You're not thanking them for creating a problem that ruined your time and your schedule and, you know, cost money and time and everybody's stress level. No, it's not worth it. I'm definitely not thanking them for that. Although maybe there's some fancy way that you're supposed to say thank you no matter what. Here's that lawyer boilerplate. Look at how long it is. Like, they got no care. They don't care how long their quotes or their comments are. They're lawyers. They probably get paid by the hour. All right, next up is 104-853. Oh, what's all this about? Ask any Cuban fleeing to Florida. They know what an I can't even say it now. Government is like, and they would love to have a fraction of the freedoms we have. Yeah, for sure. And we see that there's some cool memes going around also where you see the protesters in countries where they want freedom of speech or the ability to make a decision or something, and they're often, almost always, waving an American flag. At least we see the stuff where, you know, some groups are waving an American flag. But yeah, I think that our flag alone is a symbol of individual freedom. And most of the stuff I've been doing, some research here this year, is aligning with that. That, you know, there's different ways to categorize or divide up different types of countries, and ours would be described as independent or free, right? All right, so next up is 104-868. Since this is a boilerplate, so we're not reading it. It's our side, at least it's good side boilerplate. This is comment number 104-841. What part of shall not be infringed do you not understand? The people have the right to keep and bear arms. I mean, that might be boilerplate. I do see that one, similar ones to that quite a bit, right? The last one we're going to read is, like I said, this was actually pretty good. I'm glad whoever voted for going back and reading these voted, because if other people would have voted, we might not have ever gone back and read these extra 25 redefinition of firearms ones, and then we would have walked away thinking that it was, well, we wouldn't have had this complete knowledge. Now we know completely, 100%, that of the 50 random ones we looked at, almost half of those are good, which was better than the other day for sure. So that tells us also that Everytown isn't capable of swamping the comment period. Their best effort was to spurt 6,000 into the system, which is 10%. So let's not disregard an enemy that can spurt 10% of the total in a couple of 2-day period. And it isn't the end. That could have been their first, drizzle of the hose, trying to figure out which way the hose is aimed. So we'll see what's yet to come. But I suggest we anticipate the adversary being capable beyond our imagination and bring into the game the appropriate level of preparedness and effort, right? But I'm talking to potentially 15 people out here. Let's take a look at the numbers. The robots tell me there's 15 people watching, and then I have a bad connection. When I look over here, we got 1 human, 2 humans, 3 humans, who isn't in this country, 4 humans, 5 humans, 6 humans, 7, 8 humans, maybe a human, we don't know. Probably a human, could be. What's up to 10? So we've got like at least 10 and then 11. If everybody is still here that was a known human, we still got 4 narcs. Could be robots, could be narcs, depends on if they answer the poll. So we'll go look at the poll results. For poll results, this does not give us statistical numbers of how many of these infiltrators are robots or narcs. Dang it. Makes it very difficult to pin down. So there's only 4 votes in, but so far everybody's saying it's really good to leave in, will make law-abiding gun owners criminals overnight. Interesting. 4 people, I'm assuming, because narcs aren't allowed to vote, 4 humans think that it's good to leave that in there. Not very good, but definitely not bad. Interesting. I mean, I'm definitely getting sick of reading it. And I'm wondering if it's going to come back to bite us. But I don't know. I don't have any justification for that. It just feels weird to me that so many of the comments have that in there. Did I read this one? This is yeah, we read this one. So that was all of them. I'm closing the redefinition of firearms. So again, thanks to the people, thanks to the people who voted earlier in this poll. There's only a couple of people that voted in that poll. What do we do next? Only 5 votes. Those 5, specifically those 5 people, I'm thanking for that, because I would have walked away from this show with a different interpretation of how we were, where we were. So now we have a much different interpretation. So we'll go forward. Now we're talking about the stabilizing braces, stupid pistol braces, and this garbage. So we're going to right click, or we went over to the comments tab. We're now filtering it to look at the newest ones first. To recap, for those of you who came in late, if we look at the comments of the video that we're on, I now put the last numbers and today's numbers so you don't have to go jump around, so that you can easily see the difference between the last time, which would have been Tuesday of this week, and today, which is just Thursday of this week. So in this amount of time, the redefinition of firearms receivers, which we just read, went from 104, let's say, thousand comments received to 106.6. So they had 2,500 comments come in on the receivers. And in that same period of time, the stabilizing braces went from 124,363 to 124,766. So like 403 comments came in 2 days. 400 comments. The other side had 4,000 comments come in. If you don't think that's fishy, then you've never been to a fish market, because that is the fishiest thing that's ever happened in 2A. Is anybody talking about it? No, because they're cowards. They're scared of this whole thing, and they want to comply. If they're not talking about this, they're working with Bloomberg. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, this is weird, and what we're looking at on the comments, literally, when I flip over to this browse comments, and then I flip it literally, so when I flip it to the comments, and I click it to newest to oldest, I am literally going to get 1/8 of the comments that came in the last 2 days to the government. So I'm going to, of the 400 that came in, I'm going to look at 1/8 of them, right? Or was it 1/16? Whatever. I'm going to look at a very sizable percentage of all the comments that came in, because so few comments came in. Because I read the same 25. If I read 25 of 6,000, that's almost none. I'm hardly even reading a sample set. I'm about to read 25 of 400. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. We might as well just take our pistol braces and hand them to ShanSahn. ShanSahn is the chick that worked for Monsanto, and then the 20th richest person on the planet, some dude that made some stuff and made a bunch of money, and then is now, made money basically, is now the 20th richest human being on the planet Earth. That guy hired the marketing genius from Monsanto. And if you don't know what Monsanto is, that's your problem. Go figure it out. He hired the chick away from Monsanto, which I don't think is that big a deal. That's like hiring somebody away from Satan. But they hired somebody away from Satan. Like, how you're either getting fired because you're so horrible at being Satan's helper that you're inadequate. More than likely you are too evil. You just were too mean. So then Bloomberg's like, oh, I'm hiring that person, and I'm going to put them on the law-abiding gun owner. Okay. I am here, not in art. Oh, you're art, huh? Let's see. So next up is 124235. Please don't pass this. Please don't pass the pistol brace ban. Thank you. I like that one a lot. Next up is 124231. Moving this over. So, I feel like this is this is definitely boilerplate. This is boilerplate. When I scroll down and look at the bottom half of this huge comment, it's boilerplate. And I like the boilerplate, but it's not my favorite boilerplate. But if I go up to the top, it's a lot of writing, and I'm skeptical. But I'm going to read it because that's what I do, but I'm not super happy about it. All right, here we go. Regarding ATF 2020. Come on. Are you serious? It says 2020 R-08. You don't even have the year right after writing all this? That's what I'm saying. This is what I got to do. So regulating firearms with attached stabilizing braces is entirely needless and serves no purpose other than to burden law-abiding citizens. Okay. This document clearly states, as the purpose of the NFA is to regulate certain weapons likely to be used for criminal purposes, there is no reason to believe braced firearms are likely to be used for criminal purposes. Since the ATF approving the first stabilizing brace in 2012, there has not been any noticeable spike in homicide, violent crime, or crime in general. There is not a correlation, let alone a causal link, between the presence of braced firearms and higher crime rates. There is no evidence to suggest that regulating braced firearms under the NFA will reduce crime rates in any way. The proposal in the document further appears to be entirely unenforceable in its current state. We can use the somewhat similar example of the 2018 bump stock ban as a case study. It was estimated that 280,000 to 520,000 bump stocks were in circulation at the time of the ban. While it does not appear a conclusive figure was determined, it appears that, at most, a few thousand bump stocks were surrendered, abandoned, or destroyed in compliance with the ATF's new ruling on the device. Oh, I got a cough or something. That was a weird cough, sneeze hybrid. If we are, I gotta drink something. We're getting an unscheduled commercial. I'm dying, hold on.
We would like to say thank you to owlanddanker.com for great two-way items like these. Go to owlanddanker.com and place an order today.
I thought I was going to drink some water for some reason, and I inhaled a bunch of chocolate coffee, so that was interesting, but I thought I was going to be drinking some water. All right, I messed up this comment. It's decent, but I totally screwed up, so I'll try to get back on track by starting with this crazy paragraph. The proposal in the document further appears to be entirely unenforceable in its current state. We can use the somewhat similar example of the 2018 bump stock ban as a case study. It was estimated that 280,000 to 520,000 bump stocks were in circulation at the time of the ban. While it does not appear a conclusive figure was determined, it appears that at most a few thousand bump stocks were surrendered, abandoned, or destroyed in compliance with the new ATF's ruling on the device. If we are generous and say that only 280,000 bump stocks existed, the elimination of 3,000 bump stocks from the hands of citizens would mean that the bump stock ban only succeeded in getting 0.71% of the bump stocks off the streets. This massive ban resulted in less than 1% of the existing devices being removed from circulation. This proposed regulation also appears to attempt to skirt around the District of Columbia versus Heller 5-5 couple of different Supreme Court cases. With millions of braced firearms in the hands of law-abiding citizens, it's evident that braced pistols are both in common use and used for lawful purposes. An explanation the ATF could offer as to what their defense would be when these regulations are taken to court would be appreciated. Additionally, the selected set of objective design features appears to be anything but objective. There is not one single guideline which is clear, established in anything resembling an objective manner. The guidelines are entirely subjective, arbitrary, and nonsensical. If a subjective human being, a firearms enforcement officer, is making these determinations, then these design features are, by definition, not objective. For the reasons listed above, I hereby request that the ATF clarify its positions further and establish specific objective standards by which stabilizing braces and the firearms they attach to are to be measured. I would further request that ATF immediately desist from taking actions against citizens who have or in the future will purchase stabilizing arm braces. Further regulation on these devices serves no public interest while simultaneously depriving law-abiding citizens of their right to possess the firearm of their choosing. Whew. That was hard to read, mainly because they didn't put any spaces in there. It's like a giant mess of words, but then they go on to have a whole bunch of GOA boilerplate behind there. Now I got the hiccups. So, I don't know. It's a good comment, but formatting can make a difference. Like, you can break it up into more than one comment, too, especially when you got a bunch of points. I got the hiccups again. Oh, not a narc. Gotcha. All right, cool. Narcs aren't allowed to say they're not a narc because then that would be entrapment. So let's see. An ATF must immediately withdraw its rules to criminalize pistol braces. I think this is boilerplate, but I'm going to read it because I haven't read in reedited all the GOA boilerplates yet. And this looks like a boilerplate, but sometimes these things look a lot like one and they aren't one. Let me put a cover over my chocolate coffee over here so no bugs drink it. All right, the ATF must immediately withdraw its proposed rules to criminalize pistol braces. According to your own reports, 3 million pistol braces have been sold since 2013. This new rule would make each and every one of these devices worthless and a felony if not registered. You would be turning millions of otherwise law-abiding gun owners into felons overnight. Moreover, your own research shows that this proposed rule would cost the gun industry and everyday gun owners who are already struggling to navigate through our country's economic hardship tens, if not hundreds, of millions of dollars in conversions, taxes, and destruction of their own property. In fact, the new ATF test to determine if a pistol counts as a pistol is unfeasible for millions of law-abiding citizens. It appears that the ATF has intentionally designed its factoring criteria for rifle-barreled weapons with accessories commonly referred to as stabilizing braces to effect a complete ban of every pistol-braced firearm currently on the market. Reviewing the ATF's proposed worksheet that would be used to clarify or classify firearms as either legal pistols or illegal short-barreled rifles, literally no pistol-braced firearms would count as a pistol. Yet most pistol-braced firearms would fail Section 1 of the worksheet because all but the shortest AR-style firearms are over the ATF's new 26-inch limit on pistols' maximum length. Moreover, under Section 2, virtually all, if not all, pistol braces on the market, including those previously approved by sale by the ATF, would receive more than the allowed points, meaning the firearm would be classified as a short-barrel rifle. And who would this proposal even help? The ATF has arbitrarily decided that a pistol AR is a gangster-type weapon, despite criminals actually preferring handguns to rifles. Your proposed rules would do nothing but crush law-abiding gun owners, trample on our Second Amendment rights, and risk turning us into felons with the stroke of a pen. I demand the ATF withdraw its proposed rule on pistol braces immediately. When is the brace question over? I think I closed the other one. The brace one, though, if I go back to this tab, it tells you at the top right of the page when you're on the main page of regulations. This one has 34 days. The other one ends on August 19th. I also have it in the description of the video. The changes to the redefinition of firearm are August 19th, so we have just a few days on that one. It looks like it will eventually tell me days. So there's 2 today on the brace, on the redefinition of firearms, and there's 34 days on the braces. All right, so now we're going to find the one that we left off on. Eventually, there we go. There we go. All right, so the next comment is, hold on, factoring criteria for firearms with attached labeling. Oh, yep, thanks. I'll leave that on the screen for a second. So the next one is completely GOA boilerplate. And me on. Because GOA boilerplates bore me. All right, next up is 124.271. I just want to know why the big change with the braces that were approved by the ATF over 10 years, but now ATF wants to make them illegal and back charge a $200 fee to keep a gun that I already own and that is a pistol on my paperwork. I strongly disagree with the current president with his beliefs on our Constitution and the Second Amendment. Changing what this gun is will have no bearing on the criminals out there committing crimes, regardless of what any laws out there are in place now. Punish the criminals, not us law-abiding citizens, shall not be infringed. I don't have any problem at all with shall not be infringed being used as like liberally as salt or as seasoning. I don't think you want to eat a meal of salt or seasoning though, right? Next up is 124.253. I oppose the pistol brace ban. Its only purpose is to chip away at the Second Amendment and turn millions of gun owners into criminals overnight. We have a poll going if you'd like to participate on if it's a good idea to add will make law-abiding gun owners criminals overnight. Is that a very good thing to do? Is that good to do? Is it not good to do? Or is it completely unnecessary? So far, everybody thinks it's good. just creeps me out. It's creeping me out, man. I don't know what's creeping me out about it. Next up is 124.237. I oppose your developing regulations that would make it illegal to own some type of attachment to a pistol. This, like calling a semi-automatic an assault weapon because this style of weapon is used by the military, police, or others to provide rapid fire. Maybe a pistol brace will stabilize the weapon for a one-armed person or someone who does not have steady control. Making up rules is the beginning of the end. I oppose this ruling. So I like these. I don't know if there's English second language or just somebody that didn't go to all fancy schools or whatever, but this gets the point across, and I think we're better with this and less of the criminal overnight boilerplate. I don't know why. Maybe I just like homemade real. I don't like Walmart made in China fake versions that are mass produced. Next up is 124.245. For the BATFE to seek regulation on an item, stabilizing brace, that has been previously approved by the agency would constitute a de facto legislative action, which is outside the purview of a law enforcement agency and is repugnant to the separation of powers enumerated by the Constitution of the United States. Furthermore, such a proposed regulation would potentially turn millions of Americans into felons with the stroke of a pen if they do not pay a $200 tax for an item in common use, which in essence amounts to extortion and a revenue collection scheme. It is especially disturbing for such a proposal to appear politically motivated and be introduced almost immediately after the new presidential administration having taken office, which has expressed hostility towards the Second Amendment. Law enforcement agencies are supposed to protect citizens from criminals, not create criminals out of citizens by fiat. Okay, that would be a t-shirt I'd wear. Nobody else would probably wear it. I think that was awesome. So she wrote a good one there. Next up is 124.243. Gun stocks are supposed to give a person a greater chance of hitting a target, and if you are a good guy defending yourself, you would want that advantage. Quit taking away law-abiding citizens' right to bear arms just because you can't filter out the bad guys getting these guns. Good guys are left vulnerable because the ATF infringing on our rights to bear arms. We Americans will not go back to using muskets as Biden would have it. I'll keep using muskets. I'll take anybody on with a musket. You kidding me? We come from muskets. If you can't shoot a musket a couple of times a minute, then are you even 2A? But I'll take them with anything. Let's go tomahawks. Let's do it. Next up, 124.252. Federal government needs to back off gun restrictions. The Second Amendment trumps, let's say that with a capital, all your so-called limits. No, all your law. All right. Federal government needs to back off gun restrictions. The Second Amendment trumps all your so-called laws limiting our freedoms. Nothing you do will change the outcome of what you're trying to stop. Taking guns, restricting what we can or cannot have in possession will not change what the criminals are doing or will do. Guns to them are tools to kill people that are unarmed. I would rather take my chances with a gun on me than have it locked up or simply made by you to not be available to carry with me for protection of myself and my family or anyone else who may need the help of protection. Criminals don't obey laws, and if you limit me from being able to carry, then I guess I will be a criminal. Maybe that's what you want, but you won't get it. That's a weird one, and I don't know. I don't even have like a poll on it, but I was thinking about making a poll on it. All right, I'm closing this poll because y'all aren't interacting. There's 12 of you out here. I'm not voting, I'm not allowed to vote, but there should be at least 10 votes in that poll. So I feel like you don't even appreciate your polls. I'm not polling anymore. Next up, that's a poll tax. When people don't appreciate polls and you take it away, that's a poll tax. Next up, 124.265. This proposed rule for stabilizing braces on pistols, if it goes into effect, is a blatant abuse of power by the executive branch and the ATF. This is more than changing a definition. It's creating a law without going through Congress. I'm just going to keep putting stuff in here because I don't have any real proof that humans are watching this, except for a couple anyway. So this way it looks like there's chat happening. With stabilizing brace being fully legal and acknowledged by with stabilizing brace being fully legal and acknowledged as such by the ATF for over 8 years now, more like 12 years now, what has changed aside from the current administration being the most anti-gun? The functionality and the use of them hasn't changed. So why would the ATF propose this rule that could potentially turn millions of law-abiding millions of law-abiding citizens into felons with the stroke of a pen? This is the extremely conservative estimate on how many braces are currently in circulation. This is with the extremely conservative estimate of how many braces are currently in circulation, while the actual number is assumed to be significantly higher than their estimate. There is also a financial aspect of this proposed rule. This would have major effects on our already struggling economy due to the pandemic. At a minimum, it would force current pistol brace owned to spend a minimum $200 to register your legal pistol, as what they would now be deeming an SBR, not to mention the time-consuming process of registering the NFA item with the ATF. If you were to take the other route of purchasing a new barrel to turn your pistol into a rifle, this could cost even more. I don't remember that part. If you own maybe more than one or more pistols, that would be affected by this rule change that could become overwhelmingly expensive. For many people, it would affect. Then there is also the private corporations that employ thousands who would be forced to downsize their companies and adding even more people onto the unemployment ticket, which is already massive due to the pandemic. This proposed rule does nothing for public safety and will only benefit the ATF and government in collecting additional unnecessary tax dollars that may be considered taxing a right. It's just long and wordy. Maybe chop it up into second or multiple comments. Nobody's saying anything, so now I feel like I'm just talking to a wall. 13 robots. Let's see. Next up is 241. How far are we going? How many more of these comments we have to read? There's a whole bunch more. 124241 is a good number. I don't think that any ad on that helps shooters better handle a weapon is any threat to the general public. I am opposed to any more restrictions on our Second Amendment rights. There are already dozens of laws on the books regarding gun rights, 20,000 of them to be exact. Well, to be in the ballpark. 124219 is the next comment, and it is: the proposed ruling is just a way to hinder people from enjoying the shooting sports. If it helps someone enjoy the shooting sports, then they should not be criminalized. There is no reason to register and or ban the pistol brace. I'm down with that. They brought up shooting sports instead of having a disability. Next up is 124221. Proposed Rule 2021 R-08. This proposal seeks to arbitrarily change the definition of currently legal pistols utilizing stabilizing braces into NFA-described short barrel rifles and turn millions of law-abiding Americans into felons overnight. Oh, you're saying that toddlers don't like listening to endless hours of comment reading? Weird, but whatever. In the BATFE's open letter from March 2017, clarifying its ruling on stabilizing braces states, with respect to stabilizing braces, ATF has concluded that attaching the brace to a handgun as a forearm brace does not make a short-barreled firearm. Therefore, an NFA firearm has not necessarily been made when the device is not reconfigured for use as a shoulder stock, even if the attached firearm happens to be fired from the shoulder. That's literally a quote from 2017's clarifying letter on braces. This letter paved the way for millions of law-abiding citizens to purchase and equip their pistols with an ATF-approved brace. The new reclarification in Worksheet 4999 is vague and confusing at best and serves only to infringe on the law-abiding citizen without any actual benefit of regulating certain weapons likely to be used for criminal purposes. Additionally, the indicators on the form are completely subjective to the agent. This proposed rule would be a huge miscarriage of justice and should be withdrawn from consideration. This sentence, this paragraph right here, which I'm curious if it'll fit into the 200 characters right here, that is the most concise way of someone dissing the ATF on their stupid worksheet 4999. They're getting a finger lick and then, because that is a good one. I've read a lot of these, and that's a concise way of clarifying that point. Yeah, exactly. And also how the trillions of dollars that you're racking up for this poor kid. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl kid, but I know that they got to pay trillions of dollars because of what we're sitting around and spending. Feel bad for that kid. I was going to say, give the kid a stabilizing brace. They'll be stabler. And then maybe they can chew on it. Do toddlers chew on stuff? They're like a puppy, right? They chew on everything. So give them one of them stabilizing braces. They're often made out of rubber. So they don't even talk about how stabilizing braces could be used to help a puppy do its teething, or maybe a baby. I don't know. Is it legal to give a baby a stabilizing brace? I think it still is. Maybe don't attach it to a loaded firearm. How about that? All right. This is what you call boilerplate, I think. I think that's boilerplate, but here's the deal. I'm yawning like 16 times. You're getting a commercial. I'm going to drink some more of this coffee up here. So enjoy your commercial. Here, how about this time? It's just for a DIY. This is like, a lot of times there used to be a show called This Old House. This is this old soft hand grenade.
All right, some people were wondering how we made a Glock hand grenade, and it's pretty simple. First, you take a hand grenade and get the top off, the spoon. This is a lot easier if you don't pull the pin, if you just unscrew it from the grenade. Once you've got the spoon and everything, get yourself one of these Glock stress balls and poke a little hole in the top, and it's that easy, and you've got a Glock hand grenade. It's pretty California compliant because really it's just a stress ball. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that quick how-to video on how to make a Glock hand grenade. It is perfection. So don't think you can improve on this technique. Alright, and again, hand grenade, take off the spoon, shove it in a stress ball. Thanks for watching.
Less than a minute, you make your own grenade. That's an 80% grenade. So this is GOA boilerplate, and then their comment in front of it is the word this. I guess that works for hipsters. Next up is GOA boilerplate with a sentence in front of it. We'll read the sentence this time because it's more than one word. The ATF is creating needless regulation on subjects that have been asked and answered. What will we do from now on? Change the regulation every time an administration enters the White House? I like that one, but they're not going to answer, but that is in your face, right? To the ATF, it's like in your face. So next up is 124-249. It's a good number. Regarding ATF 2021-0002-0001, which I've never seen anything regarding that, so I don't even know if this is the right one. Since 2012, the ATF has recognized that stabilizing braces serve a legitimate function, and the inclusion of a stabilizing brace on a pistol or other firearm does not automatically subject that firearm to the provisions of the NFA. The proposed rules seemed aimed at making nearly all configurations of firearms equipped with stabilizing braces subject to the taxation and regulation requirements of the NFA, which is in direct contradiction to the opinions ATF has issued previously. For the above reasons, I am against this new rule change. Thank you. I don't like the thank you part, but I'm going to take the rest of it, and I don't like that regarding part. I don't know what's that regarding. And I'm just curious to see if this will fit in 200 characters. And it won't. Oh no, that took 3. Boom, boom, boom. That didn't even come out right. So that one doesn't fit nicely into 200 characters. Here's the thing. All you got to do is go live and then read ATF comments for 2 hours and then harass the narcs. And then you get down to the 8 people that aren't narcs, probably. Next up is 124-247. Leave the brace alone. It does not change the gun. It only adds control, which makes it safer. That sounds like subliminally it's saying control is safer. I don't like gun control, so no. Next up is 124-283. ATF's Marxist attacks on the constitutional Second Amendment rights of the citizens of this country, blatant tyranny and treason against the Constitution, can cannot be allowed to stand. Our Constitution is a limit on government, not the people. Well, that was a bunch to say about nothing. Only reason they're doing this is because Biden has to come up with something after the guy in Colorado had one trying to add a tax so most people can afford it. Well, I don't know if I agree with all that, but it's certainly being instigated by the administration. 124279. Shall not be infringed. The right to protect ourselves, our family, and our property is a God-given right that the founding fathers put into our Constitution to make sure it was protected. It was not given by the government. It is supposed to be protected by the government. These incremental infringements on how and what we can and need to protect ourselves is a disgusting overreach and cannot be tolerated. As a law-abiding American citizen, a woman, a mother, grandmother, daughter, and sister, I will not abuse any infringements, and that is what they are, by people who do not know what they are talking about, don't care to educate themselves, and lie about the facts they do know. The Second Amendment was added to the Constitution by a bunch of men much smarter than we appear to be today for a reason. Do not infringe. I liked everything about this one now. So, yeah, that's a good one. Everything about that's good. So, perfect comment. Every comment should just be that comment. Next up is 124297. Just one small voice speaking out against any further gun control rules, including the recent proposal tighten control of pistol braces. That's another perfect one right there. 124284. Please, no new gun laws. We defend ourselves and family. All right, I don't know about this please part, but I like the rest of that one a lot. It gets 2 snaps. Next up is 124291. Yeah, exactly. I try not to mansplain them right in the middle. Plus, I didn't want to mansplain on our awesome comment, so I made it seem like that was a perfect comment. Whatever. I'm not sure the list don't have to be accurate or right. Next up is 124291. It is not right to make criminals out of millions of gun owners overnight for crimes like not registering their pistol braces with the federal government. This is nothing but a power grab designed to allow Biden's DOJ to prosecute as many gun owners as possible. Well, you know what? If it wasn't that, then they should not make it look exactly like that. Let's see. 124303. Firearms are not the problem. Oh, let me repeat that. Firearms are not the problem. People use firearms improperly, but banning firearms isn't going to solve anything. It is only going to make things worse. The bad guys aren't going to hand over their firearms. They're already doing illegal things, so why would they ignore the rule? Might not ignore the rule against guns. Banning firearms is not only illegal, as it goes against the Second Amendment, it is dangerous. The innocent don't have a way to defend their own lives and the lives of their loved ones. We are all in the hands of criminals. Wait. Yeah, we are all in the hands of criminals. Next up is 124304. I'm getting tired. It seems like somewhere around 2 hours of reading comments is my limit. That's something around 75 comments. Stabilizing braces should remain legal. Can't even believe this is such a big deal. This is just another part of government overreaching and trying to infringe on the Second Amendment. Next up. Oh, I overworked their system. So let's refresh that one. And GOE boilerplate. Here's the good news. Was there even an anti-one in there? There might have been like one. We're dominating the pistol brace one, although we've also surrendered it. So we have dominated the surrendering of the pistol braces. So in other words, even though there's no anti-opposition at all, and we had everything we could possibly have on our side, every single element or characteristic of the stabilizing brace comment period, we couldn't have asked for a better situation to play this game, and we didn't show up. We just didn't even play. They literally were like, we shouldn't even play. We shouldn't play. We're going to put ourselves in this and we're going to lose badly. They put the game on and we didn't show up. So what should have been a no-brainer for our win for our side, We're just giving it to them. So people are just working for Bloomberg for free. And then on the other one, holy moly, we're just getting creamed over there. So are we going to lose all gun rights? Yeah, of course. Soon? Yeah, probably tomorrow. I'd like it later on today. Can you stop it with one comment? Yes, one comment will stop it from happening. But, whatever. So we'll close out all of these. And, what do we see? Do we have any polls going? No, I've been doing polls before. Should I have run this poll? Capitalize that correctly. And go. All right, so with that, we have, according to the narcs, the robots, I should say, the robots tell me how many people are in here. They say that 12 entities are in here. Here's how we determine how many of those entities are humans or robots or narcs. Robots don't know what a poll is, so they can't click on the poll. Narcs aren't allowed to click on the poll because their sergeants won't let them. And then humans can vote on the poll. So when we see people vote on the poll and we compare it to the number of humans that are in here, we know how many of them are narcs or not. All right, so we'll do that for a minute or two here, just as a little extra data collection so that we can see how many narcs are watching. Do we win when more narcs are watching than 2A people are watching, or do we win when more 2A people are watching than narcs? It's a good question. Somebody should write a poll about that. I'm going to start a series where I mansplain how to do 2A right. That should be a thing. It should be good. That should solve a lot of stuff. 3 votes. All voting that I should have run this poll. That means, doing the math, 10 narcs. 10 narcs. Or robots, but probably narcs. All right, with that, I think we're done. Here's the deal. It's over. You might as well just give up, or we're halfway there and keep fighting. You just decide whichever you're going to do and blame the rest on somebody else because it ain't your fault, right? It's the people that didn't do nothing that caused this whole thing, or it's the people that keep doing it. But either way, it's not your fault. Keep doing what you're doing, and this dude's cool. This dude's cool. This dude's cool. Actually, I don't know who you are, but this dude's cool. Did I already say this dude's cool? I don't think there's any other humans in here. So with that, we're talking to narcs. Uh-oh. There. Robot narcs. Here's the thing. Would RoboCop even come in here? He's going to stick his little spike into a computer later on in the day and just download this show. I don't believe RoboCop would waste his time watching this. I'm going to have so many holes dug. What are you going to have holes dug in the backyard for? I don't get that. I'm missing something. I'm also getting tired. And my coffee isn't working. Maybe I don't drink caffeine enough coffee or something. I did make this actually pretty weak now that I'm thinking about it. I use, what's that called? Instant coffee. And I had some kind of left in a cup. So I drank that and I didn't add any more because it's cheap. So I'm probably not caffeinated enough right now. It's not getting me started. All right, so with that, it's 2 minutes, 2 hours-ish for 2A. We're at 2:03. It's not really a caliber. It's not really anything. So we're going to end it anyway because I'm bored and tired, and 2A is boring. Nobody wants to show up for it. Also, I'm not even sure if my internet's working. It shouldn't be working because I only got one little line over here. So is this thing working even though I have one little line, or is it my breaking up all the time? Let's go see what's happening on YouTube. First, we'll look at the people we subscribe to, because those are the only people that matter. Crump is over here posting this. This is pretty awesome.
You booked a spacious Verbo summer home.
Not this part, because nobody gives a shit about a Verbo summer home.
But the thing...
Project Exile has been heralded as the way to do something about crime without succumbing to demands for more gun control. Project Exile legislation recently swept through the U.S. House of Representatives by a vote of 358 to 60. I believe the 358 representatives voted wrong. Project Exile is not going to decrease the demand for gun control. It is a call for zero tolerance and 5-year prison terms in the enforcement of existing gun control laws. Here are some existing gun laws. Attaching a 2 or more round extension to a post-ban Glock pistol magazine. attaching a flash suppressor, folding stock, or bayonet load to certain household firearms, accidentally carrying or possessing a weapon with or without a state license into a federally prohibited area, such as near a school, driving to another state to give a family member a handgun without going through the instant check registration scheme, possessing a gun while subject to a restraining order, regardless of the absence to give a family member a handgun without going through the instant check registration scheme. Was family member a handgun without going through the instant check registration scheme.
Anybody that's like, I don't think GOA does anything, they're back there in 2001, in the year 2000, calling it a background check registration scheme. That's legit.
While subject to a restraining order, regardless of the absence of violence and without a trial or any legal adversarial process having taken place, committing any minor infraction of any unconstitutional federal gun law. Two very well-known cases of the zero-tolerance type approach embedded in Project Exile are Ruby Ridge and Waco. At Ruby Ridge, federal agents killed a boy and a mom holding a baby. They came down on the Weaver family because Randy had sawed off a shotgun 1/4 inch under the federal limit, and the jury found that Weaver sawed it off because a federal agent persuaded him to do so and thus was not guilty. At Waco, 85 church members were killed over the possibility of a non-registered machine gun on premises. All that carnage based on federal records that the head of the records department admits are wrong 50% of the time. Project Exile also represents a transfer of street crime jurisdiction to the federal government, even though the founders very clearly intended for it to be excluded from federal control. The Project Exile bill gives money to states which agree to meet federal standards or turn their jurisdiction over to the federal government. Rather than Project Exile, how about a zero tolerance for all Second Amendment infringements? Let's have Project Repeal of all federal gun control. And from Washington, this is Larry Pratt.
That was 2001. And the only thing you saw there at the end was their phone number. And in 2000, they already had gunowners.org. So they were already online in the year 2000, which wasn't the earliest websites or nothing. We already had websites up since 97, but still, that was pretty easy. You don't need to hide guns ever. So I think that was super cool. He touches on a bunch of interesting things there. And the most important ones for this whatever conversation was that the results or the consequences of gun control are jackbootery. Those jackboot stuff we did have was a result of overzealous law enforcement at the federal level, which was then had no consequence. The consequence was, the individuals had no consequence because they had, what's that called? They were working, they were sworn working for the government at the time. So their liability was transferred to the government. So the individuals weren't held accountable. And if we don't hold the government accountable by remembering and bringing it up when they try to create the similar scenario, what happened the last time they did this and why is it different? And don't forget what you created the last time. You frivolously, ignorantly created laws and put them in front of people who enforce them brutally. And that's what they want. Either they want the chaos from that or they're too stupid to remember the chaos. Of course, they don't want to acknowledge it because many of the same individuals, Pelosi, Feinstein, Schumer, Bloomberg, were all part of this stuff the first time around 20 years ago when they were just old elderly people. Now they're super elderly, even more wealthy, and they're just trying to put the record back on. They're not even rewinding. They're just moving the needle over. Anyway, so I think it's interesting. Unfortunately, it's a very similar situation, but and the Waco one is tough because Waco was a weird, sloppy, horrible situation that they get to dismiss as religious wackos or whatever. And because there's very little, consistent memory of that, everybody's recollection comes from some point of view that had a bias. It's difficult to have everybody on the same step with Waco. It was, kind of too dramatized or whatever. There's too many made-for-TV movies about it. The Randy Weaver situation was not the same way. That is government entrapment. That is literally pestering someone until they consent to do something, which in this case was a infraction of the law of a 1/4 inch. So the guy, either intentionally or unintentionally, but later would be ruled unintentionally, or at least without guilt, was forced or manipulated into cutting a barrel on a shotgun. It turned out to be, by some measure, 1/4 inch off of 18 inches different on a pipe that isn't just a pipe with two ends. It's a pipe with a staggered chamber, and there's different parts of the chamber, and who knows where you're going to stick a ruler or measuring unit. And if you don't have a consistent place to measure to or from, then you could have, differences or different concepts of what the correct length or the actual length of this rifle or the barrel is in this case. Anyway, because of that 1/4 inch discrepancy, jackboots went in and killed a son and a dog. And then when the parents came out to see who shot their son, the mother and baby were shot. And then they're going to suggest that those people had no right to go nuts defending themselves. It's ridiculous. And that's why they got the reputation of being jackboots. So the same unscrupulous coward politicians will hide behind the act. Well, won't acknowledge the actions of their enforcement thugs. They'll ignore, they'll not bring it up. They'll in fact nominate one of those a-holes to be the head of the stupid bureau. So yeah, lots of stuff going on there. It is not their obligation to make something happen. It's our obligation to do something about it. So I don't think you need to repeal the Gun Control Act. Repeal the NFA, and the Gun Control Act falls apart. If you try to go after the Gun Control Act, one, it divides our fight, and we don't have as much inroads that I'm aware of. We already had the Hearing Suppression Act almost finished before they were able to distract, and the Republicans dropped it intentionally during the exploitation of the atrocity in Las Vegas in the end of 2018. So you have the Hearing Suppression and Hearing Protection Act almost passing. You had it almost pass a couple of times before that as a hunting thing. We have hunting with suppressors in almost every state. So as far as suppressors go, no justification to be on the NFA. We had bump stocks, which were supposedly too close to being machine guns, and by a pro-gun, quote unquote, right, described as pro-gun president, removed from ownership, removed from legality, taken to the Supreme Court and slapped back down. So we have no justification for machine guns being on the NFA. If you go back and actually watch the Hughes Amendment, I don't want to know why we don't go back and challenge that. Why can't we watch the video and say this was wrong, remove that Hughes Amendment? But whatever, we could remove the, once you look at the Hughes Amendment and the precedent that was set, there's no effect on crime. There's not fewer crimes or less crimes with machine guns with or without the Hughes Amendment. That should be some sort of lawyer opportunity to suggest that the machine gun portion of the NFA has no justification. Then you get to short rifles and we go to braces. Braces have been in common use since 2012, so 10 years now, and no issues. So no reason for short barrel rifles to be off of there. Then you get to short barrel shotguns. Well, firearms, the 12 gauge firearms have been around for many years now, are basically 4-shot SBSs with a different manufacturing process and meet certain characteristics. So the almost equivalence, no issue. Precedent set, no issue, no change in crime. There's no need for the SBS to be on the NFA. You get to large devices or whatever, grenades and such. Well, they already have explosives. How often are explosives used? Anybody can build a pipe bomb. How often does it happen? Hardly ever. So, technically, are they going to really think that crates of grenades are going around? So explosives isn't even a thing. That shouldn't even be necessary. They only added it because of the bombing in Oklahoma, which is a result of Waco and Ruby Ridge. So they created a bunch of people that got pissed at overreach and jackbootery and then reacted by making explosives. Red herring. Anyway, so what else do you got left? You got your machine guns, you got your destructive devices. I guess you have your any other weapons. Well, if any of the Lego guns or the NES, Nintendo Zappers, or any of the other video game painted guns, any of the unicorn guns, any of the paint jobs that look like a power tool, those would have all been any other weapons 10 years ago. So the fact that those exist in common use, no one even considers them any other weapons. You go to the wallets, and I've done videos. If you go to our channel and check out, just type in probably wallet into here. There's a video that explains the nuance of how stupid the operational wallet versus illegal wallet holster. So the fact that one of these holsters is legal and one of them isn't. Here's the two holsters. I guess I don't have to watch the video. What happened? There. One of these wallets, this one on the left, would be illegal. It's a federal crime. The one on the right is good to go. So any other weapons can go sucking. There's no reason for any other weapons to be on the NFA. So anyway, that was a long-ass way of saying get rid of the NFA. GOA, or the Gun Control Act, follows. It just falls down next to it. I think you would have to remove the whole idea of FFLs separately, but without any other kind of regulation necessary. We have enough humans, we have enough people out there to be working on angles against NICS and against FFLs, needing FFLs at all. All right, so Biden should allow short barrel shotguns that limits them to 3 rounds. You would love those. Yeah, exactly. As long as you blast them out the back door, right? Let's see. It's not just the same kind of people, it's the same people. Now, when we're talking about the people from the 90s and today, yeah, exactly. Like literally the same people. They're only older and richer, right? And more evil. All right, well, with that now over, we will say thanks for watching and participating, hopefully sharing the concept of making comments. And I guess I'll take a second here and make one more commercial for the DC project. Keep in mind that the situation we're in today might seem annoying because we have two comment periods to deal with at the same time. They're trying to push like the worst possible individual for the nominee for the ATF. In a real life, look at that on a playing field. You're playing a game of Risk or something. You're playing a game of chess. That's not kings and queens. That's like pawns out there. They're throwing pawn attacks at us. It's possible to take over and win the game with pawns, I think, right? But it's not for sure. I think this is an indication that they have very little that they can do. I think removing the NFA is well within our grasp. All it would take is a couple of things. For example, leadership at a national level that would point at a goal and challenge all the players to achieve that goal. Not micromanage or offer strategy or tactics, but simply challenge everyone to achieve a goal. And somebody said at one of the gun rights policy conferences, you don't micromanage volunteers. You just tell them what your goal is and you watch them get there, and then maybe evaluate after what was the winning techniques and what were the futile techniques to accomplish what you did. And then whenever you lose, you learn from your mistakes and you try again, right? So this is the perfect time to attack the NFA for all the things I just said. Plus, it's an opportunity to read it as humans, as people in the United States, firearms owners, as people who are technically literate. We can handle 2 comment periods like that. We are doing it right now. We should be able to easily double fold that, triple fold that, right? One big, national level radio, if we still had a Rush Limbaugh or whatever the equivalents are of that type of radio show host, if they petitioned to have this done, whoever our gun Oprahs are, if those people at the national level with the biggest of audiences would push people to the comment periods, that is literally how the M855 comment period ended. So, we're definitely we still have 2 weeks. We were definitely within that realm. Individuals who call into radio call-in shows made that happen with the M855. People that make comments to the big YouTube channels. There's YouTube channels out there that'll get 50, 100,000 views on a video where they're doing nothing but trying to sell you some new color doodad or impress you with how much money they spend on their videos so that you'll be inclined to buy their stupid t-shirt or whatever. Imagine if a couple of those encouraged people to actually dig into the comment periods, or better yet, encouraged people to go to their local gun shops and post something that encouraged multiple people. Instead of asking each person to comment, ask each person to be an activist and encourage dozens of people to comment. A swell of comments coming in at the last moment would indicate that our community is awake and willing to fight, right? Those people who would call themselves leaders at that point, even though they're just echoing the call from people who are saying it today, those people would be held up as people who have great call to their audiences, right? And those all together, that would be an empowering situation for those audiences. You can imagine who you could fill in the blanks with the types of people who could do that right now, right? So we're well within that. And it's the people that are watching this. Well, let's see how many people are watching this. We got 9 people, 10 people, depending on, did we have a poll going? I closed all the windows already. But, whenever we do the math and the science to figure out how many of them are narcs, whenever we figure out how many of them are narcs, I guess right now, that's 100% humans we got in here right now. So of these 5 humans, we know this guy's busy and this guy's at work, but some of these other humans, they might go tell somebody something, and then it's that whole butterfly effect. So I'm not tasking y'all with doing it. I'm just suggesting that's all it takes. It's just a person or two to say something at the right time in front of the right person. That entrepreneurial, exploitorial, whatever, person who sees dollar signs or sees the direct line to fame is going to see when that can be a feather in their hat, when it's useful. And that's when we see activism go nuts, when it's useful to those giant entities. So make it known to the giant entities that it's useful for them. Anybody can be that little birdie in the ear that makes the bigger thing happen. I don't think anybody knows who was the birdie in the ear back in the M855. But the M855 went from a bunch of us nagging online to radio shows. I forget which radio show. The guy who yells all the time told his people about it, and it was over. It was over the next day. So I've seen that stuff happen. I'm not going to bet on it. I'm not gambling on it. We've seen the bump stock be ignored. The bump stock was a perfect opportunity. It was ignored. The pistol brace that happened at Christmas time, could that have been a more perfect opportunity for somebody who likes to exploit or capitalize or entrepreneurialize situations like that? They could have been a hero, standing up to the ATF and shaming them for attempting to pull something at Christmas time. Oh man, that was a perfect opportunity. Nobody took it up. So it's not like it's a sure thing, but it did happen with the M855, so it can happen. This is unprecedented with 2 comment periods at the same time. We've got organizations, networks of people who work together to put product placement in their videos so that they can all, kind of work together to gain audience and to make more money and be more attractive to manufacturers and suppliers so that their advertising is more effective and they can all make more money and sell more crap, which is awesome. That's what capitalism's all about. People dig it, right? It's better than PBS or some kind of crap. So all I'm saying is think about some of those organizations that didn't exist with the M855. If one of those organizations decided to do good instead of just wasting everybody's money, those organizations have the ears, they have the leashes of dozens and dozens of influencers, let's just say that, right? So we've got people that if you say something to the right person who holds the leash of some of these people, then they don't have a choice. They're talking about important stuff, whether they want to or not. So you've got lots of options available to you. Every representative is our representative, right? You're allowed to call representatives and contact them in states that you don't live in. You're allowed to let them know that I don't do business in states that go against my interests and I don't support, XYZ. I won't do tourism here and I won't suggest people go there. My business is XYZ and we're not going to do business in your state because of XYZ, right? You have that potential. We've got the Everytown, which now instigated the nominee for ATF. They instigated probably the brace thing because we've seen them do it twice already in the last 6 months. And I'm sure they had a hand in the redefinition of firearms. They're certainly abusing the redefinition of firearms comment periods right now. So Everytown, the people that are funded by Bloomberg, 20th richest guy in the world, are now screwing around with international shit, with going to Mexico and funding and instigating Mexico's lawsuits against the manufacturers in the United States. Talk about an opportunity to contact a manufacturer and say, I appreciate your guns. How can I help you fight this lawsuit? How can I get the word out about what's happening? Go check out the NSSF. They're usually worthless. They do have some information now about the, what do you call that thing? The Mexican lawsuit, though. I'm going to open up Instagram here and go to the real Instagram and then go look for the circles at the top. Oh, look at that. Gun Freedom Radio has Rick Ector on. In a couple of weeks here, Rick Ector will do his Legally Armed in Detroit's annual shooting training event. It's a free shooting event for ladies. Last time they trained, no, they started with 400 something women. Last year, I forget what they said they were up to. This year, it's going to be over 1,000 women he's going to train in one weekend. But anyway, that's a little side thing there. We're going to go to the NSSF's little circle-y deal up at the top here. And like I say, usually they're just boring and worthless. They're talking about whatever month it is. But here's an interesting post. It says, NSF responds to Mexico's civil lawsuit against U.S. firearms manufacturers. The American people, through their elected officials, decide the laws governing the lawful commerce in firearms in our country. This lawsuit, filed by an American gun control group representing Mexico, is an affront to U.S. sovereignty and a threat to the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding Americans to keep and bear arms, a right denied to the Mexican people who are unable to defend themselves from the cartels. That's from the Senior Vice President and General Counsel of NSSF. Again, I almost never agree with NSSF unless they do amazing good stuff like this. So that's pretty decent because they're letting the industry know, because they are industry, but they're letting media, I guess, know at the industry representative level that this is a scheme, I guess, by, what's their face, Everytown. So now we're going to look for Moms at Arms. I'm sure there's a circle from there. I guess maybe not. So we'll just type in Mom at Arms. Big mouth. Get out of here. So if you go to Mom at Arms, here's the researcher that NSSF got that information from. I encourage you to check out Mom at Arms, an actual Second Amendment researcher, not just someone who watches the media and then tells you about it. I mean, that's necessary. There's a couple of people I watch that do that so that we don't all have to do it. But this is a team. They're out there actually figuring it all out, and they're the ones that believe that discovered that this is a Brady campaign agenda. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on, which is, I'm trying to say, all opportunities, and none of us has to do it ourselves. It's just a matter of understanding what the goals are and working towards them. With that, I guess I'll end it. I hope everybody had a good time. We don't got much more comments coming, so if I don't got comments and I'm done ranting, it ends. Oh, there's G23. So we'll throw a commercial up, my shortest commercial. One day I'll go back in and work on those things again. I kind of figured out how to use After Effects making that commercial, and then I made this commercial. And then I went, oh, well, this one's way too short. But here's the deal. This dude's show is not short. So you can go watch that show on Saturdays, and then that other dude's show is on, well, the good one is on Wednesdays now. That's where he interviews 2A women. Did an interview this week with Santee TV, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that barbecued guy does a ripoff of the Daily Gun Show, and then he talks about meat the rest of the week. this G23 does his show on Saturday, so a couple of days. Check it out in the evening, and it's a long format show that you can join in on. All right, with that, I guess we will start wrapping it up again. And now we're at 2:30. We should have ended it at 2:23, so I blame all you for that. Oh, let's look at the poll. Should I have run this poll? 100% of people agree, but really what that does is tell us how many narcs are in here. So it looks like we had a pretty good ratio, depending on what time you were watching. We had about a 50% narc ratio. So good job. Whenever the narcs are in here, just act normal. Like they don't know. All right, till next time, thanks for watching.